All right, as we wind into the final section of the afternoon, we looked long and hard to find a really good representative team to highlight some collaboration between an innovative Australian firm and an innovative Israeli firm. And I'd like to introduce you now to Michael Heine, the Joint Managing Director of Netwealth, based in Melbourne, who's going to start the story of We Went FinTech shopping in Israel. Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Good afternoon. At the office, one of the girls there has got a nice red cap which says, let's make America great again or something. I might have to start wearing that soon. Very scary. I don't know how all of Australia would have voted against him and all of America's voted for him. Never mind, that's life. Might just throw to a quick film track for a moment, please. Let's see how we go. Like all good companies, we have to refresh our brand every so often, and that wouldn't be me. That'd be somebody else. I was about to say we're a tech company, but that's always got to happen. So we've always got to refresh our brand, and that's our first brand refresh for a long time. What's very important to recognise is brand is not about logo. It's about who you are, how you're perceived, how you want to be perceived, the relationship with staff, and so on. So that's a video which we produce for staff and clients just to show the direction that we're going. What do we do? And I'd love to be able to get this up, but what have I got wrong?
No slides for this one. We've got slides for Uri, but not for yourself. So we've got the video.
You don't have slides for me? Okay. Okay, well, lucky I've got some slides here. I'll talk to it if that's okay. What do we do? Netwealth is a financial services company. Max just spoke about the size of the investment pool in Australia. It is massive, and it is all about superannuation. That's the space that we're in. We're in the superannuation space for Australian mums and dads. We work substantially through financial planners, so that's our major part. We have superannuation products, very much like an industry fund. We have investment products where self-managed super funds can invest in. The difference with our superannuation product is that we are investor directed, so instead of just going into a pool that somebody else decides, you can invest in whatever assets that you want. And what's really important is we have a very wide range of assets, and there's no administrative needs on the individual. So you invest in Australian shares, you can invest in managed funds, you can invest in SMAs, model portfolios, which is becoming a very important part of the world. So we are a technology company providing these services. We're a financial services company. We are a whole range of different things. We provide extensive life insurance options for our investors, and that's a very big part of our business. 95% of our business comes through financial advisors though. Online, the investor or their advisor can transact extensively. They can make new investment, they can withdraw money, they can pay that money to anyone else, they can set up dollar cost averaging, they can pay their insurance premiums through there, they can have auto sell down, they can manage their cash, etc. So it is very extensive in what you can do. You drill down, the portfolio is always live, it's updated constantly during the day and night. You can drill down to the individual holdings, to the individual purchases within those holdings, see what you paid for it, when you paid for it. Very extensive graphing technology. There's a lot of reporting going way back, and of course there's all the tax reporting and everything else. Our journey to date, we're an overnight success. It's only taken 16 years. We thought we'd be profitable and successful within 3 years. It took us 10 times more money and about 5 years longer, but today we are doing very well. We're at $10 billion today. We are growing to $20 billion over the next 4 years. So the beginning is just hard work. And then as you build the success and the reputation and the loyalty, it starts to grow very strongly. Our most recent advisor group that we've brought on board is moving $1 billion from their current provider into our platform. And we've got a number of these different transactions that are occurring. Who are our competitors? The superannuation industry is broken into 3 different components. You've got the industry funds with about a third, self-managed super funds with about a third, and you have the retail funds, which is dominated by the banks, with a third. We compete in that retail space, but the self-managed super funds are also our clients. So when we started, people said, you must be mad. And they were right, by the way, I just didn't believe them at the time. And the banks are spending hundreds of millions of dollars. One of the banks has just spent, rumoured to be, close to $1 billion on building their platform. I've built what we've got today out of my own pocket. It's been very profitable for some time. The profit continues to grow. And the banks are really struggling with their bureaucracy, with their legacy systems, with the overall size. So whilst they're still bigger today, they are actually losing market share, and we and 1 or 2 of our other smaller competitors are gaining market share very strongly. We've got about 45,000 investors. We've got $10 billion by chance, of the same as funds under management, of insurance that we're holding on behalf of our members for life insurance, for TPD, for income protection and so on. Very important to us is our FinTech system. We have to integrate with everybody else. We take feeds from a very large number of people, whether it's pricing feeds from the ASX, whether it's pricing feeds for the US stocks, for Swiss stocks, etc. We pass out feeds to financial planning software and into other programs that allow other people to take the data of our clients, with the client's permission, because an advisor, for example, and manipulate it in whichever way they want. So we are very much a hub with data coming in, data going out in a whole lot of different ways. We're building our own ecosystem. So we are a platform, we're an administration system, we're a tech house in many ways, with 25% of our staff being IT programmers, developers. But we also want to partner with a whole heap of other people and have best of breed available to our clients. So we're extending our ecosystem and building networks of other parties. One of the things that we offer, and one of the very few companies that does, is we offer access to 12 international stock markets for investment for our members. So they can hop online and buy any of the stocks in the major indices around the world, have it in their platform. Now, everybody knows Google, everybody knows Apple, everybody knows Tesla and half a dozen other companies. The difficulty, though, for a lot of our members is, what do I invest in? So everybody knows the major Australian companies. They know the ones they love. They know the ones they hate. They have difficulty, though, when it gets to overseas. Most advisors, most clients will invest in a managed fund. So Platinum and Magellan would be the 2 major ones. It's easy. You get your overseas exposure by investing in one of those funds. But clients and advisors want to actually invest directly too, but they don't have the research tools to do it. So what we've done is we've partnered with TipRanks, who provide extensive research and really novel and innovative research about the US market, and that's going to be expanding as well. So Uri's going to be telling us shortly about what TipRanks does with Netwealth. And it's really exciting because it's an opportunity for our advisors, for our 45,000 clients and growing strongly, to actually get best of breed ideas. What could I invest in? How's this company perceived? And start to broaden out the potential for investing in foreign companies from Australia. We represent less than 3% of the world market, whereas $150 million out of $10 billion on our platform is invested in direct international equities. It's just not enough, and TipRanks is helping us to build that business. Look forward to hearing from Uri how he's doing that.
Money by listening to a so-called reputable analyst, I sensed a big problem. Out of curiosity, I started tracking the performance of a few experts, only to find out that their predictions were few and far between.
So there is no way for an everyday investor to evaluate how good is a recommendation that he's getting online. And that's why we started TipRanks.
Uri uses all the analytical data. They have 19 wizards back in Israel. This is an Israeli tech startup. They look at all the recommendations, buy, hold, sell, and compare them to the actual record and say who's performed well, who hasn't.
Founder and CEO of TipRanks, Uri Gruenbaum. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Had you on a couple of times. We did just say, you're not here to talk about the actual earnings themselves, but who's actually calling it right.
So her average return on every rating that she issued was about 25% in the following quarter,
Wow.
which is, of course, remarkable.
People are buying your APIs so they can actually tap into your system.
Yeah, and create their own strategies. Or
And
just
effectively create their program trading based on the strategy itself.
Yeah, so we have hedge funds using us, but we have in the last 2 years, we've been integrating our service into category leaders.
We all see analysts all day. You watch CNBC, and people are saying buy, sell, hold. Are they good? It's like going to a baseball game. You have an ERA. You have a one-loss record. This is what the market needs. It's a market-driven answer for investors.
I can't believe nobody's done it before.
What a buildup. So TipRanks is a big financial data tool that brings transparency and accountability to investors. We have our headquarters in Israel, and we recently opened an office in Melbourne and in Chicago. We are backed up by some FINTECH VCs. We are backed up by, here in Australia, we have NCN Investments and a few industry leaders. There are more than 100,000 individual investors who use TipRanks as their main marketing tool. And there are more than 5 million who use us through our corporate clients, which include banks, online brokers, and hedge funds. So most of the people that invest in the capital markets actually base their investment decisions on other people's ideas. It can be an investment advisor, it can be an analyst, it can be a financial blogger, and it can even be your friend. Now, if we look, for instance, on this example from Yahoo Finance, where you have roughly 80 million people visiting every month to get their own information and ideas, you will see this article. And in this article, you have an analyst called Rob Sanderson who recommends investors to invest in Pandora and gives it a very high price target. He also probably has a pretty good rationale behind why it is a good investment. Now, a few seconds after this was up in the air, our financial accountability engine that is based on machine learning and natural language processing already analyzed this and realized that there is an expert that is giving financial advice. It then scanned the entire web to see what else Rob Sanderson ever said and how well he performed. So if you TipRanks his name, you will see that we found 100 times that he recommended to invest in different securities, and he was right only 45% out of them, meaning you'd be doing better flipping a coin. If you followed his advice, you'd actually lose 4.7% on average every time. Now, you can even search for specific stocks that he is covering and see how well they performed. So if you go to Pandora, you can see that since 2012, he was always wrong. I mean, this is really significant. He had 0% success on predicting the stock. And on average, if you listen to him covering Pandora, you would have lost 44% every time. Now, the beautiful thing here is that it's completely transparent, so you can click on each one of these ratings, and it will simply take you to the article from which we extracted this recommendation. Now, what we do is we take all this data, and we create interactive research tools that really change the way investors are investing in the market. So if traditionally investors would have performed technical analysis, went over reports, did some online researching. Today we have a system with more than 40,000 financial experts that are basically telling you where you should invest your money, but you can also see who are the good ones and filter out all the underperforming ones. Now, having a system with 40,000 financial experts makes us bigger than Goldman Sachs in terms of the research capabilities that we can provide. So we create all these interactive research tools with our financial accountability engine, and then we integrate them on leading banks and trading platforms to help them meet their own goals. This is an example of one integration that we did. We have plenty. Our biggest partners are probably NASDAQ, E-Trade, and Santander. And about a year ago, NCN Investment, who invested in us from Australia, offered us to connect us to Netwealth. And at the beginning, I was pretty skeptical, first because we were exactly starting to do very well in the US, but also because we always thought that Australia would be a very small market, very different time zone, and we just didn't want to put a lot of resources on it. I had a great phone call with Mike of about, I think, 30 minutes. And when I ended the phone call, I realized that it was the first phone call I had with a potential partner where the entire discussion was about what value will their users get and not what value would they get as a financial service company. And that kind of struck me. It took about 3 months later before we had an ongoing running partnership that was available to their partners. Now, just to give you some benchmark, our average sales cycle takes about a year, and that's even before we start the integration. Of course, I didn't tell that to Mike. I told him it will take only a few weeks to integrate, and I'm happy to see that worked, but that was very different than other integrations that we experienced. We had a great time working with them, and that led us to actually open our first office in Australia and search for more and more opportunities. Other than just analyzing what other experts are doing, we allow you to actually link your own portfolio into TipRanks and see how do you compare to other experts and get ideas that are based on asset allocation, reducing management fees, and other great features so you can compare yourself to hundreds of thousands of other investors, including on TipRanks and NASDAQ. And we're now looking to integrate these in a few very big financial institutions in Australia. So this week we had some great meetings with some of the leading financial institutions here, including ASX and Max and his team who just presented. And we really see this as our next target market after the US, which is completely different than our original plan. That's it. So thank you very much.